welcome to Jindal Global University and at the Center for Israel Studies, where you'll be co-hosted at the Center for Israel Studies as well as the Center for New Economic Studies. Just to explain what we are essentially teaching and research centers within the School of International Affairs. The Center for Israel Studies has core programs on Jewish identity, on the conflict, also on anti-Semitism and Holocaust studies. Over the years, we have tied up with various universities in Israel, like the Hebrew U, Tel Aviv, IDC Herzliya, and we have churned out not only India Immersion programs, but various themed conferences and workshops, right from Israeli cinema to anti-Semitism workshops to workshops on Israeli society, Zionism, all of it. And we work closely with the Embassy of Israel as well as the American Jewish Committee, so we definitely have reached out to both the land and the diaspora. I'm Rohita Gupta, who has convened the center. My colleague, Dr. Kibra Jamid, who is right now in Tel Aviv doing his postdoc, has also been substantially instrumental in getting the Shenkar program with us, so I also thank him. To introduce you to Professor Sriram Chaulia, who is our Dean of the School of International Affairs, within which both our centers are, and Dipanshu Mohan, who is the Director for the Center for New Economic Studies. The nature of the program brought both these centers together in order to open up various themes and the thematic sessions that you will be dealing with in the next few days. So we look forward to your being here, interacting with both Indian students and all the speakers and the academics on campus. So welcome. I hope you will find it fruitful. All right? Okay. So Sriram.
Thank you, Rohi. Thank you. Hello. How are you all? Welcome to India. Welcome to Jindal University. Some of you probably have been to India before. Yes? How many? Okay, great, yeah. Because there's a great tradition of Israelis visiting India for tourism and other things, so I'm not surprised. But thank you to Shenkar for partnering with us and for bringing this group here. We have been doing India-related programs for students of different universities around the world. Last summer we had a big group from Shalem College, and so Shenkar, we are very, very pleased to develop this relationship. So thank you, ma'am, and thank you for taking this forward. I know it's a very big day in Israeli politics today, and some of you or all of you must be following the results. But so I hope your Wi-Fi's have been set up for that. And you will, since this is not China, you can search anything you wish about your country and you'll get it here. In fact, Startup Nation coming to learn about innovation in India is in itself a bit of a surprise, but I know that when the prime ministers met, there was an explicit understanding to improve the entrepreneurial cross-learning between the two countries. So I think there's even been a fund set up to promote this joint entrepreneurship and innovation by young people of both countries. So we are really pleased that as a private university we are in some way contributing to that bigger cause. I think there's a lot you can learn from Indian professors and students and vice versa. So we look forward to the engagements in the next, how long are they here?
They're here till the 17th.
17th. So you have a full week or so, and I'm sure this is if you look at the statistics, the two-way trade and investment volumes have been growing a lot between Israel and India. So that shows there is plenty of potential. And my hope is really that, Rohit, are they engaging with the Jeremy Center for Innovation?
Yes.
Yeah. So there are lots of things we could propose to take this forward even after the formal program. So maybe hopefully we could develop some phone apps and whatnot, jointly by some of our students and some Shenkar students, because that way we can really make an impact. And maybe we can also, I don't know if there is room for even starting some new business ventures jointly by our students and Shenkar students. I know that our business school does have an incubator program. Perhaps somebody from them we
Yeah,
could,
they have to take the lead because we do core Jewish stuff.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they really
yeah.
have to take
So
the
our business
lead on
school, really the onus is on them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
by the way, I mean, just you should feel proud of the fact that your country has been contributing in a very big way to India's agricultural needs, especially
Defense as well.
and defense, all of which are because of the high level of technological and entrepreneurial abilities of Israelis. So I think our national security, even economic development, depends to a great deal on this partnership. So if you think of yourselves as part of this bigger process, it will get you to appreciate this relationship more and your trip more. So this is not like going to a European country. You're coming to India, and we are very, very closely integrated now, politically as well as at the level of sharing of ideas. So just to get you to feel the magnitude of this, I'm saying this. Last, we have a great campus, as you can see, and I hope you'll make the best use of it, including our swimming pool. And it's warm now, so it's the best time of the year. And if they need access, please contact Varun.
Yeah, the student volunteers got it covered. Yeah.
Great. And lots of sports and lots of cultural events, and it's all completely gratis for you. I mean, you could participate in any activity or anything without any fee or charge whatsoever. So please make this a home for the next few days, and let us know how we can improve your experience. I believe that if with Shenkar we can do much more in the years to come, and this is just the beginning. So yeah, so welcome again to India, welcome to Jindal. And does the embassy know about their presence here?
Yes,
or not yet?
because the commercial attaché is addressing them on the
Oh,
very
they're
last day.
coming.
They are
They're-
aware. Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So that way, it stays part of the institutional network, and we would. I was recently in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, about a month and a half ago, but I've never visited Shenkar. So I hope to do so sometime soon. And so please feel at home, and please let us know if there's any issue with your accommodation or with the sessions that we have organized for you, and so we could improve it. Please give us feedback, and I hope. Are they getting credit for
Sure.
this program?
Yeah. It's a course.
It's a course. It's a course.
They learn. They will assignment.
Excellent. So I wish you the very best for your academic careers. If some of you are going forward and starting your own businesses, this could be a formative experience, these 7 or 8 days. And do we have some of our students interacting with them?
Yes.
Yeah.
On
So
a daily basis. Yeah.
that's the key, and including the business school students.
Yes.
Yeah.
School students, I don't.
No, but
I
our
think
volunteers
our
are more
students
from
and
our
volunteers,
volunteers.
Yeah, but
Centers-
and if you can talk to Jeremy and introduce them to some students, maybe I would like some of our students to present some innovative new thing that they have devised, which may be of interest to them to see,
Probably
like a demo
during dinners or
kind of
something.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing for sure, while you're having a campus tour, which you will later today, check on the gym, swimming pool, and the library. The 3 places that you definitely will want to go at some point in between your program here.
Yeah,
And
this
Shreya
professor
is
and
our-
I
is
will.
Shreya here, Lalitji? Shreya.
I just want to drop in Daniel to the.
Okay, Lalitji, who is our executive officer, is one of the key administrators from this program. Without him, the school may not exist, not only this program. But Shreya, you may have met her already. She is one of the key volunteers, but there are around 8 of them. and you will meet them in the course of today and especially during the dinner. And they'll all have name tags, and I suggest that you, as you get the name tags, we haven't yet got the name tags and bags.
So we
Okay.
just put
Okay, it will be of use if you could wear them all the time. So and so will they. So we know each other's names. Okay. Okay.
Great. No,
Alright.
and I'm also very impressed, Professor, that there are more girls than boys in the group, and that's it, because usually when we do study abroad programs, it's the other way around. So that's also fantastic, and I hope we have more women speakers as well in the program.
You know,
We do
are
have
going
some, but
part
not-
of the time we will be in the Women Economic Forum.
Ah, right.
It's based
Okay,
in,
that's
Delhi
exactly.
in a few days.
You're participating in
And
that.
we'll be there as well.
Fantastic, fantastic. So more power to the women, more power to Israel-India relationship, and to all of your futures. And I hope to see you all as millionaires and billionaires in the coming 10 years or 20 years. And we will then ask you for a corporate donation. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I have to rush and head out elsewhere, but please carry on. Thank you,
Thank
Professor.
you. Thank you very much for your help.
Best wishes. Bye.
Just for the sake of keeping the program, keep this within the program. Okay? So that you have a. Alright. So Dipanshu will now just give a briefing about the program to you. So yeah. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
all right. Good afternoon, everyone. You can call me Deep if that's convenient. I'm Dipanshu. I teach courses in economics at the school. My own work tends to largely be focused more on development economics as an area and body of work. But as I mean, this is an amazing opportunity, and I'd like to thank personally Dr. Rohi, Dr. Kinraj, Mr. Lalit, I mean, for making this happen. I think we're all kind of trying to do work and learn with each and every step, but our degrees of exposure to student communities and institutes outside our own local base is always limited, because there's as much as that you can do. You can develop research capacity, or you can try moving out. So this gives us a very good opportunity for co-learning, and at the same time a lot of process of co-unlearning, because there's a lot of unlearning that tends to happen when you're kind of coming in with a lot of presumptions, but they start unshackling themselves step by step. In fact, with your, I think for those who've traveled to India earlier, you would probably realize it, that with whatever presumptions you would come with, it would very slowly start wearing off, because there's just so much of complexity that the system has. So I think it's very important at the time that you are in India. It's also, I mean, of course, the elections back home, but there's also an election season here. And election season in India is like any other large scale event, is more of a festivity. So you'll find everyone like pretty much charged up, proactive, doing what their things. It's amazing how with assistance from Mr. Lalit, he's not here, but we've been able to facilitate some very interesting visits for you on the field. So if you would have looked at the program structure, you would see the program structure is divided into two aspects. One is you've kind of the classical talk lecture mode interaction in the morning, and then you kind of have a field visit lined up in the afternoon, right? And the first day tomorrow, which is you have a field visit to a farm nearby. Now, as you would know, this is an area which is a bit away from the main city. In fact, this is the prime agricultural belt in India. This is the main reason. In fact, any other country where you could not acquire agricultural land for commercial reasons, this would be an area which would be very difficult, because it's very high yield growing land. It can have multiple crops grown around. So you'd find in your interaction with the farming community how farming actually happens. And in fact, it's from then you can see that there are the multiple, the layering process would start from there. So one step is when you're going to the farm tomorrow, it's definitely going to be an eye-opener. You can always, how many of you visited a farm back in Israel? I think you must have seen the activity of farming at any point of time. You'd be surprised to know 80% of our students would be unaware of it because they're all coming from a background where farming is not the first vocation, it must have been way back. So we've really entered into a kind of a generation where most people think that groceries are from supermarkets, not from farms. So the second visit is to a marketplace in Connaught Place, that's central Delhi. Of course, great place for shopping, but there are a few things that you'd want to kind of observe. I'll talk a little bit about this tomorrow when we meet for a longer discussion. It's a marketplace again with a lot of vibrancy to it. There's street markets, there's flea markets, a lot of bargaining, negotiation that tends to happen, and you see a lot of colors. At the same time, a lot of activity. And that's something which you're doing on day 2. Day 3, I think you're visiting a corporate office, so you see a completely different section of the corporatized society as well, which is based out in Gurgaon. My only point here at the very introductory level is, as a part of this center, and this is one of the reasons that both centers kind of confluence together to get this going, is we've been trying to develop a very solution-centric experimental vision to enable a team group working culture among students as a part of the center. And my own hope is that by the end of this, you'll have enough motivation to spend a little more time coming back here and engage on a group level on projects that you'd want to. I would say take this as a visit where you're just experiencing. It's a lot to experience and absorb and grasp. The weather is, of course, a factor that makes things to be always a little bit more tiring and exhausting after a long day. I mean, that's always there, but I think by the end of it, if even one of you feel interested to come back and spend a little bit of time, involve yourself. Our center's been primarily, at least the Center for New Economics Studies has been looking at 3 areas: urban development or urban areas and work in urban areas. Second is social policy, issues around healthcare, reproductive health, accessibility to basic healthcare systems, education, and what you would see is more issues around housing. That's more like a social policy development aspects. But the third aspect is something which we're largely looking at is the gendered notion of unequal distribution of resources. So gender, of course, would not only look at women and men, but other gendered communities as well. And that's something we're trying to really understand, how accessibility is connected with distributional notions as well. And all of these are very core to the business problems that is surfacing as well. In fact, if you look at the reading of the people who are addressing you, are most of them those who are coming with a background with either business studies, but anthropology, at the same time political science, history. So what it tries to do is give you a more wider purpose and purview of understanding both the socio and the political business environment in the Indian context, which is very diverse. My only request to you is to be able to focus on 3 Ps. I would usually use 3 Ps that you'd want to kind of emphasize on. So the 3 Ps that I would say is, the first thing is identify the problem that you find is most, something that really, it's a very emotive land. India is, you'd see that people are very emotionally connected, and that's one of the things or reasons why a lot of people coming down from Israel prefer traveling in. The emotions involved, hospitality is always one of those things that is connected with that. And with that, I think one of the first things is, whatever drives you a lot as a problem that you see should be identified. You may want to kind of have that one problem identified or 2 problems identified from your time here. The second thing which I would say is which is only possible with a group which thinks more in terms of solutions, is exploring possibilities, right? In terms of what do you want to do with this problem. You can work on a problem to identify it, but taking it beyond would require you to look at a possibility that you want to explore. The third is, by looking at these 2, you need to have your perception to expand. And the perception expansion would only happen if you're engaging yourself in this exercise. We don't really want you to spend a lot of time only in sessions. So spend as much time observing as much as you can the campus itself. In fact, the best way to understand the campus are the people working on campus. You'll find layers of people working. They're gardeners, most of them women. You'll find people who are serving you food. A lot of them, again, there's much more of a gender balancing there, and a lot of people teaching. There are three different classes of workers. You usually don't use the word labor, but 3 classes of workers working at the same time, the same campus, and you'll see the disparities very clearly. Okay, that's something which we would really want you to look at. Of course, the dean has said that enjoy the time as much as you can, and at any point of time you feel that you're in a situation where you don't know what to do. Of course, the student volunteers are going to be at all points of time with you, but please call in or reach out at any point of time. I really thank the instructors who are accompanying the students as well. This is a wonderful opportunity. I hope we can get more exposure out of this. Any questions you have? Yeah, the final thing, I think one thing that I really request is, see, a lot of people, even including instructors, have this knack of coming and unpacking you with a lot of information, telling you so many things, just, okay, this is there, you should do this, you should do this. And that crowds out some learning aspect. My only request is please question your instructors a lot, right? And you could do it from the disposition of your own knowledge, from where you coming, what questions you may have. No question is stupid or smart. It's just a question. It's a tool of knowing. So expand on your perception by getting as many questions as you can. I'll end there, and I look forward to interacting tomorrow morning. Thank you. Yeah.
One last thing, if I may add, on behalf of your center, you do have a blog. We want to share.
Oh, yeah. Well, what I will do is, because we have your email IDs, I believe, I'll share information about whatever work the center has been doing. Students are working in different groups. They have a research platform. It's called Nickel and Dime. I'll share the link. And they're doing work around different areas. The other is a team which does seminar series. There's one team which is only doing projects. In fact, we recently finished a project in the farming community here. In the last 10 years at this university, there was no ethnographic study with the farming community locally. Usually only studies which required some very specific information was done. And that's helped us kind of facilitate this visit for you on the 11th. Usually all the visits that students have, even those who are doing business studies, they're going to companies and factories. You're not going really to looking at agriculture as an enterprise itself, right? Which it is. So you'd see that. So I'll share more of that information over email so that you can get aware. Yeah.
I think at this point it would be helpful to get the kits, which I understand lying just outside,
Yeah.
and go through the day-by-day program
Yeah,
for a little bit.
yeah.
So I'll just get it.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the students can just come on.
Yeah, anyone still. In the meantime, in the meantime, can I just ask a quick question from all? So what is that one thing or two thing that you'd really, like when you were traveling up here, that you're feeling that you'd really want to, experience, or you're coming with some kind of idea in mind? It's always good to know that. Anything? Or you said, no. You're coming with a completely clean slate, and it's a very meditative experience of how you experience it. It is, but yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Vai dizer, ó. So kind of you.
Yeah.
So kind
Oh,
of you.
yeah,
Such a
yeah.
laugh. Amazing. Really amazing.
So yeah, you want to
I'm guessing just look at the program.
yeah.
So I'm guessing in your goodie bags you would have sort of a printed program. If you can just take that out, we'll sort of walk it out day by day here, so you can identify what you're doing, and then if you have any questions, we can go with that. So you will have a program which says Jindal Shenkar India Immersion Program.
No, maybe it's not. Yeah.
It's not in the back? Well, then we'll, right. Then what? You probably have it, you have it on the email, is it?
Yeah, I mean, we can just walk through this. That's
Okay, can you just give a intro? Dipanshu, I'll be up and मैं ये print करा के आती हूँ. Right? So,
Yeah, so I think the
Can you just give
in the
them an
meanwhile,
overview?
we're just getting the photocopies of the.
I'll just quickly get it done. How many of you are here? 12, right?
Yeah, we could get 15. I think 15 is fine. The document is just will do it. All right. So I think the first day, which is I think today, the introduction to the program. We have a political anthropologist who's going to come talk to you guys. Gujat is someone he's going to address you at 4:30. For a period of time which is for half an hour. I mean, we're going to break in the next 10 minutes for tea and coffee and snacks. So his work, as you would see, is largely to share. Can you just, Rui just went to get some photocopies. Oh, you met him. Okay. So his session, as you would see, is more to give you an introduction to the cultural and social aspect. In the Indian context. So he's going to talk a little bit about the way you can understand the Indian society and the layers within it. You have then a brief guided campus tour, which is at 6 o'clock till 6:30. I think you have a member then from Shreya. For this, you have a member from the internationals office as well. And then we have a dinner which is at around 7:30, right? So of course, you'd have one of our volunteers who's available if at any point of time. I think navigation here is always one of those things you want to kind of get an idea about. So I think spend a little bit of time, just familiarize yourself with the place. Tomorrow we start at 9. I think this is the venue, the place where we're sitting right now. And that's a session where I'm coming to talk, give you a little bit about the economic history of India in the post-independent light. So talk about different time periods, and in that way understand, you can look at then how the business landscape has evolved. We break for a period of time of half an hour. So we meet here at 9 sharp, all right? Before that, I think you'd have access for breakfast, which is at one of the venues. So I think with the student volunteer, you can just know where you can reach. I think breakfast timing start around 7:30 in the morning, which is.
Just have a session with them after this.
Oh, great. So I think then you would be able to kind of talk about all of these things. I think that's excellent. So morning, I think this other session that you have, which is from 11 to 12:30, is from one of our business school colleagues who does work on consumer behavior, and her work is on about the evolving Indian consumer, how consumption patterns and behavior kind of is very typical. So I think that's going to happen as the second session. You have time for lunch, and then you break out for your visit to the farm that you're planning to do. I think it's 12 to 13 kilometers from here. It's not too far, but of course, as you must have seen, the road and the infrastructure here is a bit kind of fragile, and you want to step across the lake, a road which is turned into a lake close by. Yeah, so it's interesting, no, to see what infrastructure and how things are a bit of a hindrance. So that visit is in the afternoon. You come back by around 4:30, get some snacks, and then evening you have just the dinner. So as you would see with every day, the idea is to have 2 sessions which you do in the first half of the day, have time for lunch, and then you go for the visit. The same goes for 12th. I think 13th and 14th we don't have a session as such. I think that's a day you should take primarily, again as I said, identifying problem to look at what aspects intrigue you the more, and spend a little bit of time on campus that day. One day you're going to Delhi, which is for 2 days. Okay.
Actually, on Saturday, they have a free day.
Yeah, yeah.
And Sunday, Monday, they are in Women Economic Forum.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And that's in Delhi, I believe,
Yeah,
right?
in,
Okay. Dwarka. Okay, okay, okay. So Saturday is Shabbat, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, no, but I was in Tel Aviv with Rohi and the dean, so it was nice to kind of learn a little bit of the cultural aesthetics. Yeah. So the final, I think, 2 days are 16th and 17th. Again, the structure is more or less the same. You have seminars. What you need to do is, once you have copies of this, just to get an idea of the theme of the day's session, orient yourself a little bit about it. And yeah, I mean, each one of you, if you can come up with one question to the session, just one question, and it could be anything, and just put it across there to the speaker, you will save yourself from getting bombarded with a lot of information. Then you'd rather kind of, facilitate the discussion around a common theme. Any questions you have at this point? I think I asked you guys a question about something, about your own perception and what you're coming in with. Yeah, yeah. You were saying something. Yeah.
About the question about what the separation from this?
Yeah. Okay. That's good.
This
Good.
was the question.
Well, that could be. Yeah.
Again? Yeah, I was in India once. I still travel there. And the mentality of the India, I don't go to a business folk, or I was in the village in the north. And all the mentality of the India, how they do things, all the West against the West, we come from the West culture, was very interesting and unique. And I like to see how it's coming into the business.
How it's coming into the business.
Yeah.
Okay.
To the business side. Very
Okay.
interesting.
Okay. All right. Which village was this in the north?
I was
This is
in
in
Parvati.
Parvati. Oh, okay.
Also
Okay.
Manali, or
Okay.
Manali.
Okay. Himachal. Yeah. It's one of the usual sites visited by a lot of people. I imagine. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. Any other expectations? Anything that you guys are feeling that, or right now you just curiously exhausted? That kind of. Huh? Okay. Kind of. Yeah. No, all right. Okay, sounds good. So I think we can just take a little bit of time for you guys to grab a cup of tea or coffee, unless you want to take a little time to talk about a few things, because we done primarily right now.
Okay, so we do have 6 minutes. So
Yeah.
I think we'll do something for 6 minutes, which is that we'll go over the do's and don'ts in the venues. This is in some ways a very, very liberal campus. However, we do not smoke or drink on campus at all anywhere. There is no smoking room. You're not allowed to smoke in your rooms either. So like there's no negotiation on that with faculty. Please do not at all smoke in this building particularly. And I think the venue for lunch that we had today, where everyone had lunch, is the same venue where you will be having your lunch, dinner, and breakfast every day, except dinner today. Dinner today is going to be with the Vice Chancellor of the university, and we will be going to a different venue. So at 7:30, you will have me or one of the volunteers of the center. We will introduce you to them, take you for dinner. If there's anything else that you do need, I will leave my number. I will write my number and circulate it. You guys, if you are on WhatsApp, you can contact me night or day, whatever time, on WhatsApp. And those of you who have an Indian number, it would be nice if you could give us one number of somebody in the group so we can call you if we need that. And I know some of you would want to go out and do things that aren't officially allowed. So we will speak of those things maybe separately, and this so that nobody gets into trouble anywhere. So we're just gonna try to do that outside this room. Maybe when you guys go back to your rooms, I will speak with you about that. But like I said, the rule is that you don't. That's the rule in the book, that you do not smoke, so or drink on campus.
Okay.
Right? And obviously no drugs. Yes, sorry.
I have a question about the gym.
The gym.
What are the hours that it's open or closed or?
Okay, so every ideally there will be at least throughout campus 4 or 5 gyms accessible to each of you, in the sense that you will have the girls go to the girls' hostel for the gym. There is a common gym for both boys and girls, but if you're going to the ones in the hostels, the girls go to the girls' hostel, the boys go to the boys' hostel. The big common gym is near the convenience store, but you will see everything during the campus tour. And what I can do is I will write down the timings of everything and message it to you on WhatsApp, so you will know. So I will write that down. I have to send you timings. There's also a swimming pool, the timings of which I will share with you. The timings for boys and girls are different, so you are going to have to keep that in mind, but I will again WhatsApp all those details to you. Do you have any other questions? We have 2 more minutes, so you can ask me
In the
anything.
grocery you can buy, there is a refrigerator where we can.
What do you mean by groceries? You mean fruits and vegetables?
Yes.
Okay.
There is somewhere around you can buy something and put it on the fridge.
You do have some place to buy fruits on campus, which hopefully you will know in the campus tour. If you don't, I will let you know. Vegetables are actually outside campus,
Okay.
so if a few of you want to go to buy vegetables, we will take, it's like 5 minutes away, but it's outside campus. So we take a cab, we go, we bring you back. Are there any other questions?
And you show us everything around.
You have a campus tour already, so
Okay.
somebody else, I won't, but there will be
Okay.
somebody else who will take you around campus.
And there is a fridge where we are speaking. A refrigerator.
Every room has a refrigerator.
Okay, good.
It's under the TV.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
Great.
You mentioned that we will go tomorrow to Gurgaon.
Okay. Tomorrow evening, you guys will be going to Gurgaon. It's 2 hours away, so
It's
we
not in
will
the
leave
program.
sometime in the
It's not in the
afternoon.
program.
This program has to be refreshed. We'll give you a new photocopy in just 5 minutes. So that's that.
Okay, so after the agriculture, we go to the
Gurgaon. You have a talk there with Shri Kamal Singh Chauhan. So the new program is here. She's just bringing it to you guys.
I just want to say a word. First of all, thank you very much, Professor Mohan. As you know, this is the first inaugural session between Jindal University and Shenkar, but it is the second delegation that comes from my school. Last year we were here, but we were not fortunate enough to come here. So we're looking forward to see how that goes. If it goes well, next year we will include you in our plans. But I would like to say 2 things. You asked the people what do they expect, and all of them, I have to explain to you, are coming from an engineering school. So it's industrial engineering and management that we are talking about. And I think that I like the question of Guy that said, okay, so how is this national culture projected or influences the business, or how do you do business based on this national culture? And I like that very much. I think there are other questions as well. All this Indian ecosystem, how does this affect the way we can do business with you is important. As you know, India is one of the largest export markets for Israel, for different reasons, but agriculture is one of them, security is another, for defense. And the question that I have in my mind, and I think you should solve it in the coming 2-3 days, you know that both India and Israel got independence about the same time. Now, our GNP per capita is about $40,000 today. Your GNP per capita is about $2,000 US dollars, which means we got independence at the same time, but there's a marked difference in the way of economic activity. And I think this gap, for me at least, is a very interesting thing to understand. On the other hand, I can tell you that based on our research, there are many similarities between Indians and Israelis. We have about the same amount of fear of failure. We're about the same in a way of relating to entrepreneurship and innovation. And because we are so similar in many respects, it is very interesting to find out why is this gap is so large. Obviously, I've got some possible answers, but I'm no expert on Indian economy, and I think that part of what you have to explain to us in a
Well,
couple of days is
in the session scheduled tomorrow morning, so on the profile of how the culture connects with business, I think that's the first session that we have today.
right.
So the anthropologist who's here, that's Professor Vijar, who is present. We're starting with our first session, which is going to be starting at 4:30. So we're going to take a break. But tomorrow morning on the inequality and place the stage of development, the point you made in
Right.
GDP terms, I think let me take it up in the morning.
Good.
Let
Two
me start
more
with
points I
first.
wanted to make
Yeah.
because I think that you may not be aware of that. If everything goes well on Thursday, Israel is going to have the first aircraft landed on moon. So we'll be the fourth nation on earth that do that. But more importantly, this is the first nation ever to have a venture like that, which is privately held. This is not a government-sponsored exercise, which I think is very interesting. And that's another thing that we can talk about innovation and technology. The other interesting thing that you may not know and these good people may not be aware of, which I think is important, about 100 years ago today, Albert Einstein, who is a Nobel Prize laureate, a Jewish scientist, came to Jerusalem to inaugurate the Hebrew University in Jerusalem. And obviously he has done it with Gatso, and that is, actually we are the first country that had universities before the country was, or the state was announced. But more importantly, people don't know that, right away he turned and he sat down with the people that founded our first labor union, Albert Einstein, who was a scientist. He said, I'd like to be involved with this labor union thing because it's very important to the creation of this new state. So, well, be it as it may, I think this week is a very important week for us, and we are very fortunate to be here, so I wish you good luck with your venture here. Thank you.
Just to say
And
that
now I want to take a picture with, maybe this lecturer can come as well. Would you like to join us for a picture?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just take a collective photograph, and I think Louis was saying something. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that thank you for acknowledging the Hebrew U here, and I'm an alumna of it, so thank you. Yeah.
What is your name? I'm sorry.
Rohit Dasgupta. Yeah.
Nice to meet
So
you.
yeah, it was very important that you mentioned that.
Okay, good. I think your Heidi is waiting. Did you take a picture? Everything is good?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
From
So like to take a picture from there?
So,
volunteer, otherwise
אז לא כן פשוט, אני חושבת כולם בהפרד.
אוקיי, בואו תתקרבו אם כך עיניו.